So, I mean, I don't even know if we need to set up a synopsis. Like, most people should know what Back to the Future is. But, JB, if you want to set up a synopsis, I'll let you go ahead at it.
The premise, I mean, there's been 3 movies in this saga, trilogy, whatever you want to call it. But the synopsis of this first movie is basically you have a kid, Marty McFly, who's played by Michael J. Fox, and he befriends Doc, who's Christopher Lloyd, and Doc.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is your film brothers, and we are back this time with a retro review. I know, it's late, but shit happens. Real life happens. We do have the bonus, though, for anyone who's going to be watching this on YouTube. You have the bonus of enhanced video this time with both of us being together. JB has a new webcam. I got a new piece of equipment. We're looking great in 4K. What's going on, bro? How you doing, man?
What's going on, Haize? What is going on, Film Frequency? And yeah, like Haize said, we got all new equipment. Try to bring you the best quality. And great Scott, we got Back to the Future today.
Great Scott, that's so funny. So I mean, with these retro reviews, what we do, like, I think the last retro was that Bloodsport, the last retro that we did.
I'm 99% positive.
Like
yes,
it's been a while. Yeah. So these can get a little wild and crazy.
We like to let our beard down during these retro reviews.
So I mean, I don't even know if we need to set up a synopsis. Like, most people should know what Back to the Future is. But JB, if you want to set up a synopsis, I'll let you go ahead at it.
The premise, I mean, there's been 3 movies in this saga, trilogy, whatever you want to call it. But the synopsis of this first movie is basically you have a kid, Marty McFly, who's played by Michael J. Fox, and he befriends Doc, who's Christopher Lloyd, and Doc is an inventor. He's kind of a wild-eyed, crazy inventor, and he creates out of a DeLorean a time machine. And some things happen, which we'll get into, but Marty basically goes back in time, 30 years back in time, from 1985 to 1955, bumps into his parents. His mom falls in love with him. His dad is a nerd, and just all crazy shit ensues. What I want to ask off rip, though, bro, is why the hell is like would you say Michael J. Fox was like 16, 17 in this movie? Like the role he's playing?
Yeah, I guess
he's definitely high school age.
Right. Yeah, definitely high school age.
Okay.
Yeah, 16, 17.
So why in the hell is his parents allowing him to hang out with this old man? He's going into the man's house early in the morning. He's meeting up with the man 1:30 at night.
Bro, this is back in the day. What was this movie set in the 80s? It was the 80s? Still, bro. 80s was still the time where people like literally people just walking in the next door neighbor's house if you get that comfortable. That's really not that. It's not that off-putting for the 80s, bro. Early 80s.
But at 1:30 in the morning, bro.
I mean that is a little bit weird, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that.
It was coke.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody was on coke on this. I don't know, because Marty McFly's dad, it may have been some cocaine. It may have been some cocaine.
I've heard some crazy stories about that guy in real life.
Really?
Yeah, apparently he's like a crazy dude. Like not like a killer or anything, but
Crispin Glover, yeah, he's same dude who was in the Charlie Angels movies. Like, when you see him and stuff nowadays, he looks completely different. But yeah, he is a weird dude. He's one of those he's a very interesting character.
So how do we get into a classic? How do you start?
I mean, I think we need to start off with how we get back in time, because like everything in the first 10 to 15 minutes of this movie are really to set up things that you see while he's back there. Like, even when you see his dad being bullied, you see his mom, like everything is really just to show you these people. So that way, when he goes back in time, you know how they reflect. That's really all the first 10 minutes of that is. And to set up his relationship with, damn it, why am I losing my train of thought on what's Christopher Lloyd's character?
Doc,
yeah.
Emmett L. Brown.
With Doc. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't know so the one thing that I didn't remember in doing this watch back is like I didn't remember Doc Brown getting shot at all, bro. So I'm sitting here like I remember everything about this. When I tell you every single piece of this movie, I remember like the back of my hand until he got shot. I'm like, what the? when the fuck did Doc Brown get shot? That was the only thing I didn't remember. It really blew my mind. I started to text you like, bro, like, did they pull some fucking George Lucas like Star Wars shit on this?
Uncut.
Yeah, like what the fuck is going on?
In your mind, what was the reason Marty went back in time?
I don't. I honestly think like because I've seen Back to the Future 2 more than Back to the Future 1.
Same here.
I honestly think that I've kind of merged some of that together in my head until watching it again. Honestly, that's probably what it was.
Well, actually, too, like in part 2, there were parts of part 1 in 2, yeah. And there's parts of part 1 in 3 and parts of part 2 in 3. So it's all like a jumbled up mess, really. But I mean, I enjoyed it, and yeah, Doc gets shot, of course, and from the Libyans, the terrorists, and that's when Marty jumps into the DeLorean and tries to get the hell out of there. And as we know, once that shit at 88. You're traveling somewhere in time. So that's the thing. What are your thoughts on them using a DeLorean? What do you know about the DeLorean? Because with our age group, we don't really know shit about the DeLorean.
So DeLoreans, if you know, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you probably did some research, so you probably finna hit us with some facts. DeLoreans were fairly rare, right? Weren't there only like 200 or 300 or something like that? Like less than 1,000 made?
I know they weren't like superly crazily mass produced, but I know the company did go out of business, and I know that guy's kicking himself because if he would have stayed in business long enough, I guarantee they would have sold the shit out of these cars after this movie.
I'm surprised they never no one's ever bought the patent or anything to come back out with DeLoreans, because you would think that
I think the guy died. I think DeLorean died. Don't quote me on that.
Still, somebody had the patent has to be somebody owns the right to make DeLoreans, and I'm just surprised that with that no one's kind of decided to bring this shit back.
So I watched these pawn shows like Hardcore Pawn and these type of shows like that, Pawn Stars, and I've seen many a times people come in with collectible DeLoreans, but I think these are just produced privately. I don't think a Ford or whatever can do it, but private people, there's tons of them, and it's designed the same way that we saw it in the movie. Big fans, they do it, or if you go to a Back to the Future convention or a Comic-Con type of thing, they have they have gimmick ones that they made, but to sell in production and a Ford or something, no. And what's crazy too, I was doing a little bit of research on this. Can you believe they almost used for the car a Ford Mustang, but they wanted something a little bit more futuristic and not so heavily mass produced, but it was almost a Mustang.
That I mean, that would have fit. I mean, I really don't think, as iconic as the DeLorean is now because of this movie, I really think any car that they use, just because of how great this movie is, it would have been equally iconic. They could have used the fucking Ford Festiva and it would have worked out. I
agree, and I'm probably gonna get hate for this. Even you'll probably think I'm nuts, but I don't really like leaving out this movie.
The DeLoreans are ugly as shit.
It's ugly as shit, bro.
They're ugly as fuck. I know people love them, and I get it, and I honestly think that a lot of that is just because of this movie. If this movie wouldn't have to use DeLoreans as it did, I don't think it would have the fucking, it would be the collector's item that it is now.
I would never be caught dead driving a DeLorean if it wasn't for this movie. Now I would gladly drive one. Give me one. I'll drive that shit all day.
Yeah. So when Marty McFly finally goes back in time, and before we get into that, part of doing retro reviews, we always want to talk about nostalgia, and we talk about that a lot on the podcast. What is as you're starting this movie, did you feel it too? I hate to be corny, you know me. I don't like to be corny. I don't like to admit shit. I'm not the most emotional dude, but I'm so glad that we did decide to do this, because watching this, automatically thoughts of watching this with my dad popped up in my head, because he loves Back to the Future, and it's just it makes me feel good to have those type of thoughts and those type of memories.
So I did have a little bit of feels for this, not as much as for example Bloodsport, because for this trilogy, again, such as yourself, Back to the Future 2 was not only my favorite one, but it's the one I watched a billion times. So I did see this one quite a few. I did have some of the feels, but not necessarily maybe as much as you got, because I didn't really have a connection me and my brother watched it, me and my dad watched it. I watched it as a kid a lot. But it's still, at the end of the day, it's still nostalgia, and it's still brought back oh shit, it's Doc, oh shit, it's Marty, and the whole story and everything like that. I almost put on part 2 afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna have to of course, I don't want to do it all back to back, but we'll eventually, I'm sure, cover the rest of them. But let's get into this back to the time thing.
And actually, I failed to mention this. This happens to be the 35-year anniversary because it came out in 85, and 35 years later, here we are.
Look at that. It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you have to like kind of give this movie is the fact that people like the fact that he was sitting next to his dad in the diner when he finally gets back in time and he didn't recognize him. Like you would recognize your dad instantly. People don't change that much. And then for like, you have to, and I've read theories on this online. You have to know, his parents have to know that they met him back in the day, right?
So there's a lot of what I like to call plot holes in this movie. Like, for example, like you said, they would have had to remember him. Now at the end, I know we always jump around in these retros, so who gives a shit? But at the end, when Marty is about to leave the dance and go back home, his mom is like, Marty, I like that name, which is foretelling like she's going to name her son Marty. But wouldn't she name her first son Marty, not her second son? Yeah. That I feel like was a plot hole. There's a million other plot holes. I won't do that because that's not what this is about. But yeah, that's what you're mentioning there. That's a plot hole, I think.
Yeah. But anyway, where do you want to go with this movie, JP? What you want to talk about?
I mean, there's a million things. First, let's talk about the success of this movie. Again, 35 years later, first of all, we didn't pick this movie on our own. We had a poll up on Twitter and a poll up on Facebook. Our Facebook page, check that out if you haven't. The Film Frequency on Facebook. Great discussion.
He loves his polls.
Huh?
I said you love your polls.
I'm gonna let you ride with that one. I'm gonna let you ride with that poll and keep moving. But yeah, this shit won. So 35 years later, people still loving this movie. Not only that, I mean, when this movie came out, I believe it had about a $19 million budget, if I'm not mistaken. It was definitely under $25 million budget, and they grossed about $340 million. And this is in 85. That's a lot. Even now, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, that goes like if you're able to make it a cult classic, like, and cult classics, it seem like always come on low budget movies. Just imagine how much money this movie has made. This is spun out. It spun out 2 sequels, a cartoon, like
a video
syndication
game
all over the place, a video game,
right at Universal.
It's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
On a movie that they probably honestly didn't think was going to be successful.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking also at the same time. I just want to. Yeah, the budget was $19 million. I really want to know, is $19 million a lot of money? Obviously, it's a lot of money in 85, but for movies, is that considered a lot? Average, I wonder.
I mean, for 85, absolutely. It wasn't a small budget. Nowadays, like, not much, like, shit. I don't think you can shoot a movie at a major studio for $19 million. So, I mean, back in 85, it wasn't like it's the smallest budget ever, but still.
Now, can we talk about real quick, like the brilliance and also the motivation and the drive of freaking Michael J. Fox? Like, I don't know if a lot of people know the story. First of all, Michael J. Fox, he doesn't get nearly enough credit as he should. He's a great actor. Obviously, he's more of an 80s actor. He did some TV. My first memory of him, though, was Family Ties from the 80s. He was Michael P. Keaton. He was like a Republican and a teenager. And I also remember him from Teen Wolf, which was a favorite of mine when I was a kid. But it's kind of crazy because he got chosen to do this role for Back to the Future. And the people at Family Ties said, no, you can't do it. Like, you're shooting our show. When are you going to have time to do this? And he's like, listen, I'll shoot your show during the day and I'll go shoot with them at night. And they're like, nope, you're not doing it. And he's like, listen, I promise I will not miss anything. And then they agreed. So literally during the making of this movie, he was pulling double duty. In the morning, he was shooting Family Ties. And in the evenings, he was shooting Back to the Future. So that just is so much motivation. Had he given up this Back to the Future role, I don't know if he would have had the same success, because this was the movie. This was his breakout role, his first huge role that broke him out as a star. And look what it turned into. You just said, look what it turned into. Part 2, Part 3, movies, books, all kinds of shit, games. You know, it turned into a franchise, and this got him to the other roles he got later on. And
he wasn't even the original Marty McFly. That's something that we need to talk about.
I believe the original Marty
Eric
McFly,
Schultz.
Eric Stoltz
was the original Marty McFly, and I don't know how much of the movie was shot with him, but I know it was a nice portion of the movie that was shot with him before they made the decision to move and change it to
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox. Yeah, my brain kept wanting to say Michael Keaton. That's not it. Go ahead.
No, it was a lot of it was shot. I want to say probably like a good half of the movie was shot, and then they had to, when they recasted him, I forgot what the actual number was because I remember I read that, but it was a couple $1 million I want to even say it was like something crazy like $4 or $5 million, might have been even more, cost them to redo all the scenes and redo everything. But it's so good they did, because I mean, I've seen Eric Stoltz in a couple movies. I mean, the most famous movie I know him in is his Mask, and obviously it's not, his face is freaking disfigured in the movie, but he is nowhere in the same class as Michael J. Fox, in my opinion.
No, this role is Michael J. Fox. Like, this is like, I know Michael J. Fox is a good actor. He's a really great actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but this is the role that Michael J. Fox is always and will always be known for. Exactly.
Now, let's talk about Doc. I feel like Doc is any character he plays, and to be honest with you, I only know like Christopher Lloyd from a couple movies. I mean, I remember him from Clue. I remember him from this, obviously, most famous for. I remember him in Dennis the Menace. I don't know if you've seen that. Dennis the Menace, he was the bad guy in that. And outside of those movies, I don't remember seeing him in anything else at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I can't. Off the top of my head, I know I've seen him pop up in a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't know if it's TV shows, TV movies, or something. I don't like have a list in front of me, but I mean, he's been in stuff, but this is probably his most iconic role as well.
Bro, I'm forgetting a freaking famous shit that he was in. Probably what got him off the map. He was in Taxi. I don't know if you ever seen Taxi.
Oh, duh.
What the fuck? He was in Taxi. Yeah, I forgot his name in Taxi, but yeah, he probably started in Taxi because he was kind of young in Taxi.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so we got that, and then obviously the supporting characters, Leah Thompson, who played Marty's mom, and Crispin Glover, and I don't know what the hell Biff's real name is, but they were good supporting characters. What do you think about them?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone in this movie was cast in kind of in the perfect role. Leah Thompson playing his mother was, that makeup is cringeworthy, bro. But it's funny how back then I guess it was harder to make women look old, but like Crispin Glover, you almost wouldn't have thought that it was makeup for him. Like, right. They found somebody actually old to play his role. But yeah.
It's crazy. And what do you what would you have done if you were in that situation? Remember, for those living under a rock,
bro, who
haven't seen this movie,
that was the cringiest shit. Watching somebody's mother have the hots for them, bro. Now, like, as a kid, it's funny because you're not really thinking about it. But now, as an adult with kids watching this shit, I'm just like, this is fucking. Do you know the amount of trauma and counseling it would take somebody after that shit, bro? Nobody's just going back to the future and just being like, oh, it's cool. My mom had the hots for me. She was trying to get with me. It's all good. No, that would need some serious fucking counseling.
Well, if you take a step back out of your fandom for a second and out of the nostalgia and all the craziness that we love about this movie, right? Let's talk a little bit. First of all, when Marty's in school, you have the principal who put his hands on Marty and was like, listen, you ain't shit. Your dad is not shit. You're never going to be shit. I don't know about you, but I've never had any principals like that before.
Bro, well, see, and that's the thing. So my first elementary school, the principal was still allowed to paddle us, bro. So this shit wasn't that bad to me. That was in the 90s. Huh?
What country was that?
That was here. And I started elementary school here in the States. No, that was in public school in Tennessee. That we were it's the South, bro. Like, seriously, and there are still some schools that do it. Huh?
Was your teacher white?
Was the principal? Of course, but that had nothing to do with it.
That had nothing to do with that. You just trying to beat people up.
No, it was literally in like one of the punishments, like to avoid I guess suspending kids from school and stuff, you would get a certain amount of paddles if you did something. Like, still, and that's in my lifetime, bro. I'm 33 years old, and I still lived in a time where schools were allowed to beat kids.
I know that Haize ass was worn the fuck out.
No, I've always been a badass, but I've been a smart badass. That was very rare that I got caught with what I was doing. But I was doing shit.
I feel you. No, but first of all, so you have to deal with that. Second of all, come to find out that your dad is a freaking voyeur, is a freaking peeping Tom. I know they made joke of it in the movie, but let's be real, he was a freaking voyeur trying to check out girls getting naked. Then on top of that, like your dad is kind of like a nerd and a geek. There's nothing wrong with that, but still, now your mom got the hots for you. Also, you found out your mom, who you think is a nun, drinks, smokes, parks with boys. You know, there's a multitude of things that are going on.
That back seat.
What's that?
Getting it in that back seat.
Exactly. So this movie, if you think about it, it's freaking dark as shit. If you really take the joking out of it.
Yeah, it's bro. Serious counseling would be needed. Like, there's no wraparound or way around. Now, there was some wrapping around going, but there's no way around that shit, bro. Counseling would definitely be needed.
So I gotta ask, because I know easily, I'm pretty sure the answer would be this for a lot of people, but maybe I'm wrong. If you had a DeLorean, would you go to the back to the past, or forward to the future?
Forward to, bro. I don't give a shit. Like, I hate history. I hated history in school. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I want to know what the fuck's going on in the future. I need to take some technology. I'm a technology person, so it's always forward for me. If like what they did in Back to the Future 3, getting stuck in the Wild Wild West, that shit is not for me. And I'm black. I would not make it. There's no way in hell I would not make it out of that shit.
You would be lynched, but like, nah, bro, I'm white. I'm just really brown. It's the tan. It's a tan, bro. It's the sun, bro. Nah, but so me 100% the future. I was talking to my wife the other day, and I'm like, shit, man. It sucks that we're not gonna be around in the year 3000, because I would love to see what the hell that's gonna be like. Just as fast as technology is moving now, imagine 1,000 years from now, what it's gonna be like. It's gonna be amazing in the year 3000. Even 100 years from now, it's probably gonna be amazing. So I would love to go in the future and see what that's gonna be like.
Yeah, I mean, technology moves at such a fast rate now. It's like, even just being able to go like 60 years in the future, it'll be like a completely new world. Just look at it now. Like, imagine the people back in the 80s, if they were able to come forward till now and see everyone with basically what's a fucking computer in their pocket, just carrying the shit around, and we're all connected. Like, that shit would blow somebody's minds in the 80s.
You know, I kind of want to change my answer now. You know why? Because I'm actually thinking about part 2. Like, why wouldn't I just go back in the past, hit like every single money ball ever, every single week, and hit like every lottery, because I would know all the numbers.
See, well, no, all you do, this is what you do. You got to be smart about it, right? So you do that. You go back in the past. You do your bank. You get your money. You put it in the savings account. Then you go 100 years in the future.
And you enjoy it. Yeah, but that's risky as fuck. Because let's say I have $100 million. 20 years from now, $100 million could be worth peanuts.
Bro, it's a savings account. It's going to get interest, bro.
Yeah, well, we don't know that. The banks could have gone out of business. And then you have nothing.
Well, then you jump forward 25 years. You make sure it's still good. Put it in a newer bank at that time, jump forward another 25 years just for a day or so. You just spend like a week jumping around to make sure your money's good. Then you finally settle like 200 years in the future, and you're fucking rich.
Well, why don't you just go back like 50 years, rob every single bank, and just take the money with you?
You could do that too.
Yeah, this is why there'll never be, at least in our lives, we'll ever have a DeLorean, because we just use it for fucking wrong.
Oh, if they ever really do invent time travel, we're fucked, bro. Like,
oh yeah,
the human race is, because people aren't prepared for that type of power, bro. Like, seriously, like me and you, we're sitting here, we didn't at all in what we said, hey, let's save Martin Luther King from getting assassinated. Let's stop Trump from being president. We went right to money. Like, and we're good people. We're fairly good people. So imagine how humans will do, bro. Now. Yeah, it's
we could literally we could save so many people's lives, so many different things. We could have did a lot of different things. And the first thing we talk about is money. We're talking about interest in bank.
Exactly. See, it's just people aren't prepared for that power. So what do you like, getting back into the movie, man? What do you think about like the whole setup of him like figuring out, like meeting up with Doc Brown again, and like Doc starting to believe him that he actually is from the future, and they hatched this plan that he's supposed to basically just hang around for 2 weeks, I believe it was. He was supposed to be in the past, a week, stuck in the past, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna hang out here for a week, and he's like, well, you can't do. Well, have you interacted with anyone else. And then they start realizing that Marty has completely set everyone on a path to where his parents won't end up together. He won't exist just off the virtue of him getting hit by the car. His dad was supposed to be the one to get hit by the car. Like it's funny how they work that in, because of course we have the benefit of hindsight while we're watching this. But if you're just coming into this movie for the first time and you start seeing all that unravel, that's part of the reason why people love this movie so much, is because while it does have its plot holes, the whole mystery of how everything goes I think is set up very well.
Exactly, because one wrong turn and Marty's gone. So like, you know, his mom's in love with him. Obviously, you know, we had this scene like kind of early in the film where his dad was peeping Tom, and his dad fell off the tree, and his grandfather, Marty's grandfather, was supposed to run his dad over. And then when his dad brought home, you know, Marty's dad, the mom would fall in love with him. However, Marty saved his dad, and he was the one who got hit by the car. So the roles were kind of reversed, and that's how his mom fell in love with Calvin Klein, because his underwear sells Calvin Klein. So actually, hold on, not to go off the rails, I don't think I've ever seen a movie ever, even in 2020, that has the amount of product placement that this movie has.
Oh,
I mean, every turn is some shit. Pepsi,
right? Calvin Klein, of course, the DeLorean. There's some other shit.
A million things. And I actually, I don't know where I read this, and it wasn't this time. This is a long time ago, where it makes sense though, because the directors and the writers and everything, they wanted to use a lot of logos, because logos are something that tend over time, they tend to change. So they could show the different time periods by logos. Like you have the older Pepsi logo and the newer one, and then like a futuristic one. So that's why they did that, and is what they said, which I'm sure was a reason. But let's not forget the freaking millions of dollars they probably made from all these companies with all these sponsorships.
True. Well, I mean, go ahead. Yeah, what were you about to say next?
Michael, so we talked a lot about some of the characters. We haven't talked about Biff at all. What was your thoughts about
Biff?
Bro,
I fucking hate Biff, bro. Like, honestly, and it's not even because of his character. Like, these movies all have, like, the bully characters from back then, but the actor is just so fucking terrible, bro. Like, his line delivery, and maybe that was the direction he was given, is to be cheesy and over the top like that. But Biff Tannen, to me, I enjoy Biff Tannen in the Back to the Future cartoon more than I do the movies, because he's just a terrible actor.
I honestly think, and I may be wrong, I think he's meant to be that way, because in all three movies, he's horrible. And I don't think the guy is horrible. I would assume, I would hope not, because why would they keep recasting him? But yeah. I'm assuming they told him to kind of be like slow and dumb, because that's also part of his character. But from what he is in 55 versus 85, so he gets punched one time by Marty's dad, and he turns into like this goofball guy. Like,
well, you know how like some people are only the bully in school because they've never been tested, like no one's ever stood up to them, and they just have like this people have this view of them as they're like just this undefeatable person, and really they're really just pansies. Like he's really, and as we learn over the course of like the series, and I hate to bring in the knowledge that we get from the sequels and everything, but he's really just somebody who got bullied by his dad and turned out and bullied other people because he was the biggest guy in school. So
that's true, but damn, he went from literally one end of the spectrum to the next. But it's funny because they try to make him into like, oh, like he's old, like he's broken down and he's kind of like a wimp and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, he still owns his own freaking auto detailing business. He still owns his own business, so he's somewhat successful. Yeah, and I love like the callbacks. So like, they had Marty's dad. He ended up writing a book of him seeing like a what he thought was like a UFO. Well, we know it wasn't a UFO. It was freaking Marty playing a Van Halen cassette.
Yeah, that
was trying to get him like to date his mom. So I like those little callbacks that they did. And there's a lot of tidbits in the movie like that.
Absolutely. And then like ultimately, and one of the things that, like you said, like how did I forget about Doc getting shot? At the end of the movie, he's okay because of Marty telling him to wear a bulletproof vest.
Exactly.
Bro, like I said, I honestly don't know how I didn't remember that.
Yeah, because Marty wrote him the letter in 1955 saying like you will be shot, take proper precaution. But when he saw the letter in 1955, he ripped up because it's always about we can't know what's gonna happen because we'll disrupt the freaking timeline and the whole universe will explode and all this shit. And then they're back in 85, he gets shot. And he has a bulletproof vest, and Marty's like, but I never got to tell you. And then he whips out the letter and is like, I figured out what the hell. So even Doc succumbs to the freaking,
Absolutely. You got anything left to talk about this movie, JB?
Nah, I mean, again, this is a retro review. We're just talking nostalgia. These are always going to be kind of shorter and fun. More than anything, these are absolutely just fun reviews that we do. We're not going to go in depth and beat it up scene by scene, such as we might do for our normal reviews. It's more of a kind of a flashback thing. But yeah, I mean,
it's just a fun thing to talk about. Like one thing that I do want to say in these retro reviews, we are basically assuming that because they're classics, that you guys have seen these movies already. So it's more of a time not for us to necessarily go over it scene by scene. It's just for a time for us to sit back and be the brothers that we are and just talk about nostalgia and movies. So
exactly. Now let me ask you this: what was your favorite scene in the movie? Did you have a favorite scene in the movie?
I don't know. I think overall, like, I just enjoyed the movie. I don't know if I could this in part 2 and 3 I have favorite scenes. This one I just enjoyed the movie. Like I really enjoy the way that this one unfolds. I do.
So I have to say, and this part I always start cracking up, and I know other people might not find it funny, but when he's playing the guitar at the dance, but he starts
like it's too loud.
No, he starts tripping, and he's just going crazy. He throws himself on the floor and starts backpedaling on the floor, kicks out the speaker, and everybody's like, what the fuck is this white boy on? Like, just absolutely, every time I watch that scene, I always start laughing. And then, like, he stops and everybody's staring at him. And, like, the freaking principal is like this. And it's like, I just always found that scene funny. And let me just say this also. People never talk about this, but the score of this movie and that Back to the Future theme is so iconic, in my opinion. It's one of my favorite, like, themes of a movie. I just love it. I don't know who the composer was. I want to say it might have been Silvestri, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I absolutely love the score to this movie.
Yeah, the score is amazing. It's the music is just great in all of the movies actually.
It's the 80s.
Yeah, there you go. We didn't get any montages though, but yeah, it was still the 80s.
Wow. Yeah, we did not get any montages. Mm-hmm. Usually you get those 80s montages. We didn't get anything like that. But still a terrific movie.
Terrific. Great. You guys have to see it. If not, I don't know where the fuck you guys have been. Get your shit together.
What would you rate?
But yeah, just as like a funny piece of knowledge, Ronald Reagan, who's mentioned in here, actually loved this movie, which is funny because they Ronald Reagan's the president, the actor, and he loved. He was on record for saying he loved this movie.
Yeah, that was funny. I remember that. And then Doc was like, This is why your president actor, you have to look good, because he was looking at the video camera and he's like, this is what the future is about. So it's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely.
What would you rate it?
Easily 8.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. 8.5 out of 10. Do you think, obviously, over time, it's clearly stood the test of time. Us in our 30s, 40s, absolutely gonna love this movie. Well, what am I saying? Not 40s, but the 30s and stuff. We're going to love this movie. However, do you think someone, for example, like your son's age, like a 15-year-old, for example, or a 12-year-old is going to like this movie?
I do.
You think so?
I do. Yeah, I think so.
Has Xavier ever watched this movie?
No. Not that I know of. Stuff's always on TV, so maybe he's caught it there, but we haven't sat down and just watched it as a family or anything.
Do you think it is time?
I think it holds up. I think that there's not really like anything in it. Like if you just look at it, it's a time travel movie. So it right there in its conception, like you can really watch it at any point in time, and it still kind of stands up. Do you think they'll ever remake? Well, let me not say that, because they're eventually going to remake everything. It's going to get a remake eventually.
They've already planned. Like there is going to be 100% a remake,
bro. They've been saying that for years. It's going to. I agree that it's going to happen. I don't believe one's in the. Well, it probably is one being written right now, but who knows if it's ever going to see the light of day. So if you were to recast this movie right now, who are you casting as Doc Brown? Who are you casting as Marty McFly?
Bro, that is so hard to answer.
It's easy for me.
It's easy for you.
Go
Doc
ahead.
Brown has to be someone kind of crazy. And Marty, I don't know. What do you got?
Doc Brown, easily Robert Downey Jr.
You say that shit about every role. Oh, Robert Downey Jr.
No, that's not true.
We did this on, what was the other movie we did this? And you're like, Robert Downey Jr.
I mean, if it fits, it fits. But he gets the quirkiness. Okay, so even if I'm not taking Robert Downey Jr.,
I think he's way too cool for that.
Well, I mean, nowadays being a nerd is cool. Like, think about it. Nerds are the cool people nowadays in high school. So like that would play into it. But if we're taking Robert Downey Jr. out of it, if he's out of the equation and we're casting somebody else as Doc Brown, I would say,
It's hard, man. It's hard when you have these iconic roles that you only see that one character that can fit in.
Well, okay, Marty McFly, easily Taggart Edgerton, the guy who played.
I can see that.
He's easily Marty McFly.
Definitely. Although he has an English accent, but I'm sure he has a.
I mean, he's done an American accent and everything else he's done. I mean, he's or the kid who plays Spider-Man could also do it.
Which one?
He could do it as well. The new Spider-Man.
Okay.
Andrew Garfield. No, that's
it's Holland.
Yeah, Tom Holland.
What's his first name? Yeah, Tom Holland. Correct. Yeah,
he can definitely be a Marty McFly. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna go left field. If we're casting
Eddie Murphy as Marty,
you know what? Honestly, I don't fucking hate that. I really don't hate that.
You have a 40-year-old playing a 16-year-old.
But listen, I mean, fucking the guy who played Doc Brown in this wasn't as old as what he played in the movie.
True.
But I'm gonna go weird with it. Kevin Hart is Doc Brown.
Bro, I would love to see. That's left field as fuck. And
Could you just imagine Kevin Hart doing his little thing in his voice, like, "We're going back in time."
Have The Rock as Marty. So here's my last question to you.
All right.
We said we kind of debated back in time, back and forth, whatever. If you did have to go again, either whether it's back in the time or back in the future, what year would you go to and why?
If I'm going back in time, it's going to be medieval times, just because I love that time era, that time period, and I would love to see that. If I'm going in the future, I'm going fucking as far as like I want to go to until humanity breaks down. So
right before,
our peak,
a couple weeks before that.
Yeah, right before the fall. That's where I want to go.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Right before shit starts turning crazy, I want to just hit my 2 weeks and just peace out after that. And back in time, hands down. Everybody should know my answer to this. I want to go back in time to find out really and truly what in the fucking hell, really and truly, what happened to Forrest Whitaker's eye? We can find out with this shit with a time machine. We can find out why that shit is like. Right.
I love how this has become inside joke on this podcast is what happened to Forrest Whitaker's eye. No one still has told us. Like, and if we ever make it to the point to where somehow we get Forrest Whitaker on this podcast, I'm fucking asking him. He can get up and walk away from the interview, but at least I get a chance to ask.
Well, what's funny, and I want to say it was Q on the Film Frequency discussion group. He just randomly, we were talking about nothing related to Forrest Whitaker. He randomly just posted a Forrest Whitaker gif. So I knew he knew what we were talking about.
Oh man, that is hilarious. All right, man. You never did your casting. Did you figure out who you cast as Doc Brown and Marty McFly?
I said Kevin Hart as Doc. I agree with you, and The Rock as Marty.
All right, it's time for us to fucking go.
You want me to go off the rails, bro? I'll go off the rails.
JB, go ahead and tell the beautiful people where they can find you.
I have Jenna Jameson as Doc. Okay. So I can reach on Twitter. Is there a way we can get a time machine and just rewind the last 2 minutes?
It's called the magic of editing, bro. The magic of editing.
I know you already. I know you're my brother, bro. I know all this shit is staying in. So I can be reached on Twitter at the P1JB. That's at THEP1JB.
And you can follow me at CEO Haize. That's at CEO Haize. You can follow us collectively at the Film Bros Pod on Twitter, and you can also search our discussion group, The Film Frequency, on Facebook. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, thefilmfrequencypod@gmail.com. I got nothing left, JB. You?
So by the time you see this show, our next show will be coming out on Monday, which will be the Bad Boys review. I know CEO Haize. Shout out to CEO Haize. He did a little mini review, a little reaction video, but we're going to have the full in-depth review, of course, on our podcast that will be dropping on Monday. So definitely check that out.
Absolutely. Make sure you check us out on all of those different platforms. But as for now, we will see you, lovely and beautiful people, in just a few days for the Bad Boys for Life review. And we are out.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.